cause, even individually, we can start causing things to get better on our world. And that has to do with our thoughts also. Because I want you to be aware of something else here. Be aware that your thoughts, even though they're not heard audibly, do radiate beyond your aura. They affect plants, animals, and other people around you. Now, what I'm talking about is when you create a thought in your mind, and there's some force put into it, that thought actually creates an electrical charge in your brain. That electrical charge actually, depending on where it comes from in your brain, if it's from your conscious or your spiritual self, has a certain range to it, a distance to it. And when that thought leaves your mind and moves outside of your body, it goes beyond your aura. It affects out into the aura and is reflected in the aura as you think, but it goes beyond the aura also. So if you think and radiate evil, hate, anger, distrust, or whatever, this goes out into the world and it affects everybody around you. There is a consciousness. There is kind of like an open party line, an open telephone line among all people at the subconscious level. For instance, ask anybody who was around Los Angeles during the riots, when tens of thousands of people rose up in anger and were rioting and were burning buildings and, trying to harm one another. Well, that certainly flows out into the consciousness of the people. Many people, I'm sure, if you ask them, could feel that in their own subconscious. It has an effect. There are over 5 billion people right now alive on the planet Earth. All of those people, very few of them, have any respect for the planet itself. They don't even think about the planet. And this has to be a contributing factor into some of the natural disasters and problems that we're going to be facing in the future. Let's think about earthquakes, problem with lower life forms, microspecies. Let's think about problems we might have among the animals and so forth. Maybe we're causing some of that. Maybe we get to a point of population where society is so out of control, there's so much anger and war going on, which we're getting close to if you just watch the news today. All of those thoughts out there create so much fear, prejudice, and so forth, they affect all of us. Well, fortunately, you can protect yourself from conscious thoughts, material conscious thoughts, because those are what Billy calls just primary telepathy. It's on the material side of the mind. Thoughts created by the material consciousness and so forth, you can block against them. You can put up strong feelings of self-protection, of happiness, of love and light around yourself. It's a very powerful force. You can tell yourself daily that I am protected by an aura of love and charm and happiness, and it serves well, because remember, our aura all around us reflects how we think, right? Well, if you are invaded by outside influences and thoughts that affect your subconscious mind and come in and might make you feel just a little down, a little depressed, or a little fearful of all the things that are going on out there, if you feel that trigger happen, if you feel a little down, stop for a few moments, meditate on the idea of power and love, of universal love. Change your aura to being an aura of strong strength, of love and light, and it becomes forceful. You become very powerful. Within just seconds or minutes, you'll feel your powerful feeling of confidence and self-reliance come back, and the outside world then will bounce off of you. You'll be able to perceive it then from a very balanced viewpoint, and you will also perceive the sadness and all the problems and the anger out there more correctly. You will not respond to them then with any sort of hate or anger, but you will also be giving off your own feelings of unconditional love back to these people who are suffering out there. After all, we must start looking at people that, if they're full of hate and anger and whatever they're doing out there, they're very unhappy. And let's don't look at them as something to strike back at. Let's look at it as another spirit which has been misled. It's another spiritual person just like ourselves who's having problems in life. Even if they may appear to be violent or whatever, these are the people that really need our love and really need our help. These are the people who are out of control. These are the people who need inspiration. These are the people who need our help and our inspiration to show them what is correct, how to live properly. And through ourselves, using ourselves as role models, we can do that. If you find 5 or 6 people that are like a gang or something, you could handle a gang. You could talk to people in a gang, explain the concepts we're talking about, of how to develop happy thinking through power of self and meditation and so forth. At first, they're going to laugh at you. You've got to expect that. But if you get a chance to work with these people, slowly there will be a breakthrough. If you can get them to calm down, even start with some simple breathing techniques to just breathe, and so with and calm themselves down. And then maybe separate them a little bit so that their collective consciousness, which contributes to their anger, is dissipated somewhat. Get them alone individually and they lose some of that violent strength. Get them alone and start calming them down, and then start teaching them some things. Provide them with some new knowledge, some new things to think about. Show them some new ways. And over a period of time, you could bring that person back into being a happy, well-balanced person. Think of all people in the world as happy, balanced, spiritual people, because the spirit itself never gets out of balance. It's always in there. It never gets illogical. So think of them as their spirits out there, that they're trapped somehow inside of some sort of body that's gone crazy. That this material body out there is infected like with a spiritual disease. So we have to look at them like they just need some help. And what is help to a person who spiritually is trying to defend themselves? Most common help is just to offer them your unconditional love, your logic, your clarity of thinking, so they can sort their problems out. All right, one other thing I want to touch on here is called power thinking. That's a phrase that Billy uses in his book, Power Thinking. He says, since thoughts can be so powerful and not affect ourselves but the world around us, they are the most powerful form of energy there is. He says, remember that the creation started the whole universe with only a thought, which manifested itself into matter and created all there is. So thought is very powerful. No one can really resist a healthy, purposeful, and strong thought. You know, and in any argument or discussion you get into, the last word is usually the person who has the most clear, well thought out, logical statement which brings the argument to a conclusion, the last word on the subject. A good thought is usually filled with what he calls the absolute awareness of the unity with creation. In other words, when you are aware that you are part of creation, that you are connected to it, and you speak from the Spirit, then you are actually speaking with the highest possible logical mind that you can at the time. That's a good thought. Correct power consciousness and positive thinking dissolves all of your difficulties. Well, it does. We've talked about, how you can make yourself feel ill with poor thinking. Likewise, you can also make yourself feel very well with correct thinking. So you also want to learn to control the size of your problems. If you think of them as small, they are. If you start concentrating on a problem and causing it to enlarge and put a lot of energy into your problem, it'll swell up inside of your thinking, kind of like a storm, and it becomes very difficult to knock it down. The strength of thinking and the application of power thinking requires an education. At first it can seem a little difficult because it's new and seems a little bit strange, but you do actually get used to it. Actually it's very easy. Once you start the simple and correct ideas in motion, your thinking will kind of begin to flow. Things move very quickly inside of your mind when you actually do something on purpose. The whole instrument of thinking, the whole concept of the way that your mind works will change very rapidly to accommodate new forms of thought. It seems to like it. Once you offer your mind some food, your subconscious some food, it takes to it very quickly. All the equipment, associated with the brain, your neural connectors and everything, they all seem to change like an energy level, and they transform kind of like an electric transformer somehow. You get this shot of energy going through your brain. It's just a short time until power thinking takes over and becomes the norm. Now, of course, practice makes a master out of anyone, so if you practice this idea of power thinking, it becomes a habit. Power thinking, of course, is nothing more than the developing of the power of the Spirit by continually concentrating and reinforcing thoughts that are correct and logical. And as you do that, you think stronger and stronger about things, and you develop a force of your spirit. You become a power thinker. Okay, end of tape. See you on the other side.